Hey class, so this video is going to be about the 4 forces of development. This has to do with the lifestyle. 4 forces of development feed into the multiple causation. So we're looking at the 4 forces that are under number 4 of the last video that we talked about. So the 4 forces of development are biological forces, psychological forces, social-cultural forces, and lifestyle forces. So the thing is that all of these forces work together to create the outcome of one's adult development and aging process. So for example, I'll use my family history. It's not uncommon for some people in my family to have high blood pressure. So that is a biological force. And when I do more research though, in learning more about blood pressure and the risk of it being high, I realized that some ethnicities need less sodium in their diet than others. So the American diet may not be as conducive with people of my background, which is normally high in sodium. The American diet is normally high in sodium. So knowing that information allows me to work with that biological feature of my body to hopefully reduce my likelihood of developing high blood pressure in the future. The second is psychological forces. So a psychological force is like your beliefs, how you think, your perspectives on life, and your emotions and your behaviors. So with the idea of knowing that high blood pressure can lead to death, or it can lead to a less mobile or a less effective way of aging, it kind of reduces your ability, especially if it becomes a problem and it can lead to an early death. It makes me self-conscious of that, and I'm more aware of that fact in my life. But I can choose to use this in 2 ways. I can either use it to produce fear, or I can use this knowledge and produce action towards it to reduce that likelihood in the future. So the more I learn about it, the less likely I will be able to fear it. Next is social cultural factors. So soul food, eating food high in sodium, is part of the soul food African American diet and culture, and having barbecues and all that stuff, which is great because it brings us together and it brings family members together, and it allows us to like love each other and all that good stuff. But it being around that type of food hurts us in the long run. Although it's beneficial to our psychological health, it's hurtful to our biological health, especially knowing that we as a race don't need that much sodium in our diet. So that can feed into and hurt the likelihood, increase the likelihood of me developing high blood pressure in the future. But the idea that I know this, I'm then able to better space out how much I eat at the barbecues, or how much of the soul food I eat, or transition my cooking and still have like that culture there, but maybe find versions of it that don't require as much salt, or healthier alternatives to eat with family. So when we are around each other, that we're also feeding our psyche and benefiting that health, but also feeding our body with the type of food that it needs to be able to live long and be healthy and mobile and not be constrained by certain diseases in the future. So the fourth and final step of the 4 forces of development is life cycle forces. So this really just shows that we as individuals have these things, but they affect us all differently. So the lifestyle forces, the number 4, is reflection of how the same event or combination of biological, psychological, sociological forces affect different people at different points in their life, and also that different outcomes are produced by that. A lot of this can be shown in twin studies. So there's a twin study on Alzheimer's, and in the study they looked at twins, and when one developed Alzheimer's, they expected that the other one would too. But depending on how much these twins had the same psychological beliefs and the same surroundings and environment after childhood, determined their likelihood to develop it. In 22% of the time, one twin, around 22% of the time, around 22% of the time, one twin developed and the other one didn't. And a lot of the differences on why one twin developed and the other one did not is so you look at their lifestyle forces. So although they experienced a lot of the same things in their childhood, looking more into detail of how they developed differently growing up, going to different schools, living in a different type of environment, eating different types of food, having different types of friends, positive energy around you creates a different outcome. So having a background on the 4 forces of development, biological, psychological, social, cultural, and lifestyle forces, it gives us control over how we age. Instead of just saying, well, I have a family history of this illness and I'm just stuck with it. No, there are other factors in that you can have control over as you age and as you get older that can reduce your likelihood of developing something negative and increase your likelihood of aging healthy in your future. So I want you guys to really reflect on this idea and think of the things that are in your life or in your family that you witness. It doesn't even have to be a biological or an illness. It can be you've experienced divorce in your family, or your family is known to be less positive or negative, or whatever the case may be that you don't want to experience as an adult. Look at the psychological factors, social, cultural factors, and then see how maybe you can utilize these or do certain actions in place under these 4 factors that will give you the result that you desire. I did this for high blood pressure, and I'm hoping that it works. I look at stuff that according to research is what should I eat, and I drink a lot of teas. So hopefully that decreases or controls it till it's later in life. But you can do that as well with not just biological forces, but with psychological elements or factors in life that you hope that you don't have to deal with, despite maybe you experience a lot of people around you dealing with or your family dealing with. So that is the 4 forces of development. And again, they are biological, psychological, social, cultural, and life cycle forces.